Hey everybody, I was just spending some time with the Lord, and He was sharing some things with me out of Psalm 84. I was reading in verse 10. It says, "For a day in your courts is better than 1,000 outside. I would rather stand at the threshold of the house of my God than dwell in the tents of wickedness." So the part of the courtyard there, or standing in the court, it's like a courtyard. It's not in the house, but he's saying, I would rather stand on the outskirts of your house, and I would rather dwell, just being in your outskirts is better than 1,000 days anywhere else. And I would rather stand at the threshold of the house of my God than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. So as I was reading what stood out to me is that there are a lot of believers, there are a lot of people who have been standing in the courts. And I mean, I know that we're already seated with Christ. We've already entered into the fullness of what he did on the cross. But as far as really being able to walk in the fullness of that, there are many people that I've talked to, myself included, that I know that there's more that the Lord has for us to experience in this world and in the next. But specifically speaking about the fullness of the promises and dwelling in the fullness of everything that he's already provided for us here. And there are a lot of there are a lot of us that have been in this place where we've been close to the things of the Lord, but haven't entered into the fullness of the prophetic revelation, or the fullness of the promises that we know that we have in our lives, that he's spoken over us. And as I was thinking about that, I saw someone standing literally at the threshold of a door. And many people are at that place where they're standing at the threshold. And that's the place that they would rather be. They would rather be at the place standing, knowing that the door in front of them is the door that the Lord has for them, than to be chasing after the things of the world. And many people, there's almost a question mark over their head, like, okay, Lord, I've been waiting at this door for a long time. And there's nowhere I would rather be than to be in your presence and standing. And even if I have to wait, I would rather wait for what you have for me than to be wandering off and doing my own things and enjoying the wickedness, the temporary wickedness, or the sinfulness, or the pleasures of this world. And what I heard the Lord saying is that that this season in the courtyard, this season at the threshold, has been part of the process where not only are you being prepared to enter into the fullness of what the Lord has for you, but it's also been a test. It's also been a process of being able to die to your flesh, because you've had many other opportunities to chase after the things of the world. You've had many opportunities to dwell in the tents of wickedness or worldliness, or pursue worldly desires or worldly wealth, and you chose to stand at the threshold. You chose to stand at this door. Even though it's a closed door, you know that this is the threshold that leads you into what the Lord has for you. And I hear the Lord just encouraging me, the time is at hand for you to be able to step through into the fullness of the promises. And that he's so pleased, he's so thankful to you. He's so pleased in your willingness to wait for him. And that you would rather wait on the edge of the fulfillment of his promises than to chase after your own promises, or the promises of this world, or the things of this world. So continue to hang on. I really believe with all my heart that we are literally at the last moment before we step into some amazing things that the Lord's been speaking to you. Some of you, he's been speaking to you for years, some for decades, and there are promises that have yet to be fulfilled in your life. But now is the time for that. And this season at the threshold, the season in the outer courts, has been to prepare you for everything that's coming through. And it's been a season to help prepare your heart and your flesh to be detached from the things of this world. The things that the world is stumbling in right now are not going to be a temptation for you. They're not going to be a snare for you, because you've had many opportunities over the years to chase after those things, and yet you chose to stand at the threshold of your God and wait for the fulfillment of his promise. So be encouraged, loved one. And I just hear the Lord's his heart of pleasure over you, and your willingness to wait for him, your willingness to stand even in the outer courts is better than being anywhere else, and your willingness to stand at that threshold and wait on him and to trust him. The Lord bless you guys. Love you. Bye-bye.